All right, we are back. Let me get my mic right. We are back.
Yeah.
Mike, we back.
Yeah.
Deeply Opinionated podcast. I did bring the homies back once again. Y'all are loving our camaraderie with me being the direct asshole and him being a sly asshole, and then me being with the shits until y'all get past level 5, then I ain't fucking with y'all. When y'all come back to 5, then I'm gonna fuck with y'all.
That's waiting right there.
Right. So
you can cut like, yeah, these niggas are acting.
Let them calm down.
Right. So this week's topic is self-hate. I'm just gonna warn you now. We probably gonna be all over the place with this one because it's a real heavy topic. It's a lot of angles you can approach it with. A lot of things to be talked about. So we probably won't even get to all of them. This might lead to a part 2. So we'll see. But I really didn't want to put no direction on the conversation because I like these conversations just to be open dialogue and not, a list. Let's talk about this part, this part, this part. I want to go wherever the conversation goes because that's a real conversation instead of having a diagram of how we're going to do it. So, but we always need a starting place. So, just the general self-hate. What does self-hate mean to you, Ty?
So I thought about this a long time, even when you brought the topic up of what it is that we'd be discussing. And I mean, like you said, it's a lot of different ways to approach how to attack this thing called self-hate. And for me, I thought about what it meant for me on a personal level, dealing with my own issues as far as self-hate from very young age, even into adulthood, how it affected my friendships, my relationships, even my work, how I view myself versus other people, whether they be personal or impersonal. Like that's just how I looked at it. Self-hate to me is a constant self-doubt. It's a constant comparison of who you are to people that play a role in your life and people who have no say in your life. And it's always you battling with you, tearing yourself down, always making yourself feel inferior to things that are in your control and beyond your control. And it's always about trying to figure out how to battle those demons because it's all internal. Everything that I feel about self-hate, how I approach self-hate, how I've tried to manage to deal with the self-hate, it's always been internal. It's never been about the outside factors or forces.
See, I think it's a thought. I think it's a thought. It starts there as a thought, and where does that come from? And so that's kind of how I view self-hate. It's just a thought, and then how you carry out that thought and how it manifests is like the issue for me with self-hate. Not as long-winded, but I'll start there. But just because I feel like it's a thought, I mean I can elaborate on it, but
I love you too, Meek.
It's a thought that one, it sparks in your head. I think you gotta ask yourself where that came from, where that thought came from. Why am I thinking that? Why am I feeling that? And then when I feel that thought, when I hear that pop in my head, how am I reacting to that? Am I doing something negative? Am I spewing hate? What are your tendencies when you feel that way? And then once you realize those things, that when you have the thought, then you have the reaction and how it manifests, and then you can figure out how to resolve that.
I think self-hate is just it's what those 2 words mean. Just you hate yourself, and it's like sometimes I think when we mention the word self-hate, we automatically go to the crabs in the barrel, aspect of it, or blacks not liking blacks. And I thought this was a good topic because the movie Us just came out. Did you see it?
Right, I saw it.
Did you see it?
No, not yet. I was supposed to go with it, but that I can't.
I say go see it.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
How'd you feel?
I was disappointed, but I would still say go see it.
Okay.
The reason I was disappointed was because I felt like
I ain't see it now.
So you can't hit it with no spoilers. I'll say this
be
much.
vague.
No, I got you.
Be
I got you.
vague.
I got you.
Be
I
vague.
got
You
you.
have to
I got
vibe. You have to vibrate higher after
I
watching
got
this
you.
movie.
I got you. I got you. So I felt like with how they were promoting the movie as, you know, these extremely melanated people, and it was us, and the slogan was "Watch yourself." Like it's a double entendre on that, where it's like watch yourself, and then also be cautious and watch yourself, and also visually watch yourself. So the play on that, I was like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of layers to this, but I felt like it's so many different narratives that they could have did to drive points home to let you know the contradicting things that we do amongst ourselves. I feel like there's so many narratives that they could have put involved in the movie to enforce those, why we are, you know, our own worst enemy. I felt like it was lazy. They didn't tap into what those narratives could have been. They just skimmed it. And then the particular part where I started really getting disappointed was,
I ain't seen it.
right, that's why I stopped.
Say it lightly.
There's a part where all of the bad things that were happening happened to white people.
Right.
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 In that part, I was like, oh, this is not that. This is inclusion. This is everybody is there.
But that's for me when it flipped and it went from it being about racism to classism. Because if it's happening to black, then it's also happening to white. Then it's not about a racial construct at this point in time.
Right. So
but it's still about the inward demons.
But that's what messed me up is because they didn't promote it that way.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. I thought that was clever. I thought them not promoting it where you would see the same things happening in the trailers to black people that are happening to white people was genius. I thought because it almost promoted you, it prompted you to go to the movies to when I was at the movies, I sat beside a white couple and a white couple sat behind me.
That's crazy. I did too.
So when these things started unveiling themselves, it went from them being engaged in the movie to not fully enthralled. Like, let me sit up on my chair and okay, so now it's not just happening to the Negroes. Like what?
Oh, that's crazy.
That's how it happened. That's wild to me. But saying all that to say, I get how you tie that into, because I mean.
Also, I guess the ending when it first happened.
I said that too though.
As soon as
bullshit you not. I said the same thing.
As soon as it happened, I was like, that's why. That's why. This particular.
Because I hate to say, I want to say something so bad, but you ain't seen the fucking movie.
I got him. This is why the particular person was acting differently than they were acting before. As soon as that happened, I immediately guessed it.
The telltale signs. Because it's not about being, at this point in time, it's not about being fearful, but being nervous of being found out. I guess is a better way of saying it.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. The person I was with at the time, I feel like I said that in the mentioning of the movie, because certain shit just tells itself, it unveils itself.
Did you stop in the middle of the movie and Google the Bible verse?
We did.
I did too.
We did. Yeah. So it was like, okay, and then that kind of like, it's a lot of layers, man. It's one of the movies where you're gonna have to watch it twice. I'm not going to watch it twice. I feel like I had my fill, and then I went back and did this whole YouTube wormhole shit where I read all of the breakdowns of this, that, and the third. Now, things that made sense to me, I don't feel like I need to see it again.
Well, if we do a part two, make sure you watch it before the part two. So
like
we
I said,
can really break it down.
I was supposed to watch it opening weekend.
It was. And I'm like big on movies, man. Like I go to movies by myself sometimes. It was very disgustingly terrible but good. I can't really say it. I don't really know how to say it in a different way.
To me, like I said, because I'm a mass media major, so I look at things differently. What colors they use, all that stuff plays on the mind. The average person doesn't know that, but those things play on the mind.
Mass comm, same shit.
Right.
So like even like that whole, fuck. Even the whole towards the end, where it's I'll say operatic. There's that. You get what I'm saying? Like that was a whole. It's a thing, man. You can't fuck with Meek about this shit because he ain't seen the movie yet. So
but what I was saying is that my vision on how I view movies is different. Like the colorism, all those things put you in a certain mood that you don't even know visually that does it. Just like that when they sell you things that are healthy, it's always green. The label is green. That's on purpose. So it's like I was disappointed as far as the narratives that they could have took it. I felt like that was lazy, but besides that, it is a good movie. It's a good plot.
That's wild that you felt like it was lazy. I thought it was disgustingly terrible, but I also thought it was very much so ingenious.
The reason why, because I wouldn't give out this because I can make each one of these narratives into a movie. I'll tell you off camera why I think it's
okay.
Because there's so many approaches that they could have took.
Right.
Within the same whole concept of the movie. The movie could have stayed the same, but there's different things that they could have showed the clash of why we.
How long was the movie though?
About 2.5 hours, right?
Was it that long?
I felt like that shit was long.
I felt like it was like an hour 45.
Nah, nigga, this shit was long.
It was longer than that.
Because it took long. It took the starting point, the leaping point for the action was at least 45, 50 minutes into the movie.
No,
like
they drugged it out.
They definitely.
But I think they drugged it out for a reason.
I like the build up.
I feel like they drug it out to set you in each person's character, to make you soak in what that character is.
And that's the thing, because they only really gave us an insight to one character. You know what I'm saying? Then her parents, very surface level. Like we didn't get a backdrop of the son, the daughter, the father. Like they had to be like they felt like add-ons. Like we need to fill a space with other parts of the story that people can relate to on some level. So let's make it a family construct. Let's add in those pieces to the story.
Nah, I think they were specific with the characters. I think they were very specific. I think they made the girl, you know, what they said she does and what her thing was. Then the son was like the weird type, but they made it.
How'd you feel about the acting though? No real shit. How'd you feel? Like what was your takeaway? Because I feel like if you put different actors or actresses in those roles, it's a more compelling movie.
I think that's on purpose though. I think their acting was on purpose to more like of a comedic view of.
So it's satire.
Yeah,
I like that. I hated that shit. Yeah.
So I feel like that just is another sprinkle of the genius that he's trying to put on it. Is that it almost made their characters comical. They almost shot them like in a. There was like times where people were laughing. You shouldn't be laughing. Like,
can I give you a conclusion I came to after watching the movie?
What?
Lupita's character was, what's his name? Kaya, the guy from his first movie.
Yeah.
Reversed in different settings. So in the first movie, it was definitely about racism, splitting the Cheerio or the Fruit Loops from the white milk, all these racial undertones. But you put Lupita in her movie, and she was the same. She was exactly him, like just a bunch of crying and emotional outbursts and shit like that. Like you basically just took two motherfuckers from who have a tangent movie together in Black Panther and put them in different roles, discussing different social politics, racism, classism. It was the same nigga crying a whole lot of snot and acting out, being enraged based on their circumstances, which I thought was kind of like.
And I wish you watched the movie, man.
Really wish you watched it.
Really do it.
There's
a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit to talk about in
that.
Damn, I should have hit you. It was like, yo, make sure you gotta watch the movie before you come. But
it's on my to-do list. So I had to support Black, man. Yeah. I had to, like just because the opening credit says written, directed, produced by Jordan Peele. Was it Jordan Peele, right?
Yeah,
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Yo, dope. Dope.
Yeah.
And I think he played on the trickery of the mind of people not understanding the subtle undertones and the things that were not so obvious to the eye.
I think
so people would go home, jump into this YouTube wormhole of information about what people think things mean. I've seen so many perverse and poignant meanings about certain things, and I've seen some real dumbass like there's no way in the world this is what Buddy was talking about. Right. But it almost made me go back and watch the movie a second time so I could make my own decision about how I felt about it. But I think that's a part of the genius. Like he did these things purposely, the mystery, the confusion, for people to feel compelled to go in and then now pick the movie apart after already seeing it play out the whole way through, which is dope.
So I don't know, man. It cost $20 million to make it.
It made 70.
It made 70.
Facts. From his own production company. This is what I noticed and I thought was the most fly shit of the whole shit. So if you watch the first movie, what was the first movie?
Get Out.
You watch Get Out. He didn't have he had production credits as his movie and whatnot. But now you can see in the beginning, the opening title of this movie it shows the monkey paw stirring a cup of tea. So now his whole his entertainment company, all that's off the sweat of his like. So imagine spending $20 million to profit 50 on an open weekend, and now you got to like your imprints on everything.
You got everybody leaving the theaters and going to their job and their church and everybody, hey yo, talking about the movie. Then all of those people go see it again the next week. Then those people go tell the other people, and before you know it, you done made $100 million. Went
and saw it on a Saturday. Went out and chilled on Saturday night, and like wherever I was at, that's the topic, the conversation. Right. I heard black people, white people, everybody was picking apart, dissecting this movie, and a lot of what I heard was all bad at first, and then it got to like a Wednesday or Thursday once people started getting their own filtered information. Then things started flipping. Now it's like more intrigue than it is disappointment.
You know, like soon as I left, I read 2 reviews, and I was like, that was a reach. This is a reach.
Right.
That's a reach. And I just got aggravated. I just stopped reading them because it was like, that's a super reach.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what? Like
that reminded me of what's that movie you saw that I saw and you was like, you super hated it. Was it Black Panther?
I don't like hero movies. I don't like hero movies. Period. Because it's all the same thing. It's
that was a moment.
Here is the good guys. Yeah. Introduce the good guys. Here's the bad guys. Here's the bad guys. They take over for
we gonna have to move on from this shit. Cause I can see Meek like these motherfuckers keep talking about this shit. I ain't seen them in the trailers. Nigga ain't seen the opening sequence. Nothing. Right. But I think you like once you watch it, man, we definitely gonna have a conversation about it.
I'm pretty sure this might lead to a part 2, so we'll discuss it. Hopefully Meek has seen it by then.
That's what's up.
But so I'll ask y'all this: where do you see self-hate the most in 2019? Because what I was saying earlier is like sometimes the word self-hate gets automatically attached to black people, right? As if white people don't hate themselves as well. Our world is built to make people insecure. In other countries, they don't have billboards with people with shirts off looking amazing, like because their culture is not focused on, even the amount of money we spend on dental work. If you go to other countries, they don't give a fuck about their teeth. Right. Their teeth are like, and we think that that's nasty because since birth we've been told to brush your teeth, but then these studies come out that fluoride is bad for you. And you
causes cancer.
There's all this other shit 20 years later after we've been brushing our teeth with fluoride for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like
fucking toothpaste called fluoride.
Right. So I think self-hate exists in if you live in America, there is a level of self-hate that's perpetuated to you through some type of form of media or school, because there's kids, white kids who commit suicide. They hate themselves. Teenagers, adults, all the way up through.
That's a great point because I view self-hate. Well, I think it's a couple different ways because self-hate can turn into depression, and then that can lead into something else. Because after you kill yourself, most of the people around you want to ask, what could they have done better? Right. And then they'll start to hate themselves, because they'll start to ask those questions like, what could I have done? Could I have done this for you?
And it's funny that they ask questions only after your passing, because the telltale signs were all there. Like you said, where is self-hate most prominent? To me, it's social media. That's it's a given. We're in a digital age, living in a digital world. Everybody's attached to their phones, their laptops, computers, whatever their device of choice is. This is how we communicate with the world. It's how we express ourselves. It's how we get validation. It's how we seek comfort. And it's mostly strangers. Like, think about it. If I heard a compelling study about the rate in which depression would raise if Instagram stopped with the likes. They have a feature on the phone where you can take the likes off of pictures, but if they deleted that altogether, where people were just on their phone uploading pictures, the rate of depression would rise, suicide rates would rise, and also people would be less engaged to be on the app because they are primarily on the application looking for validation from people they either know or don't know. It's like refreshing your phone 24/7 just to see who's liking, putting those notifications on to see who's giving you heart eyes or emojis and things of that nature, just to make you feel more important, more validated, more in tune with everything else that's going on around you. And I feel for women because they go through it the worst. You have all these people who go on and they put videos, 24/7 workout videos, and off camera, off the phone, they have invasive surgery where they, you know, are getting lipo, they're getting breasts, they're getting ass, they're getting, you know, tans. So now you look from pale white to damn near exotic or Afrocentric. Like, and women have to compete with that with people they feel like are only going on praising these people. It's like we said in the last podcast. We go on there strictly for the entertainment purpose. But women, I think, don't see it in that same format. It's almost competitive, and it's almost a way that they go in and are able to justify their own self-righteousness. Right. It's like, if I can get somebody to come on and comment and all these thirsty niggas, it's like, we take away the thirsty niggas, would you be less inclined to post, or would you be more inclined to post? Right. Because now you're taking away from what's giving you power.
Yeah, I mean, it's become so involved in people's everyday life that it's almost sickening. I say this all the time, man. If I wasn't like a brand and like social media had to do social media in order to keep up, I would delete this shit, man. Cause it's very poisonous to a weak mind. I always remember this quote that Einstein said. He said, "Any man that has a high IQ has a horrible life, because when you have a high IQ, you see what's going on for real." And he said people will pray for delusion. He said people with high IQs will pray for delusion, because having a high IQ makes you see what it really is. The people who are delusional and can't see past the surface level, they're living in a bliss because they really don't understand what is going on. Yep. And so I consider myself with a very high IQ. So when I see things, it's just like, it doesn't do anything for me. Like it actually like changes my mood when I'm on it. When I start to see like people just thirsting for attention, or losing self-respect for attention, or trying to sell pussy online. It's just like what are we really doing? Like you're openly selling pussy online. Like what does it come to? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times can you stand sideways with your legs split to show that you got ass? Like, how many times can we see that pose before? Like, why do you think that we want to see that pose 365,000 times?
But it's right back to the point that we're trying to drive home. It's self-hate. It's self-doubt, self-inflicted wounds that we're putting upon ourselves. Women get online all day, and they have to deal with all of the comparisons to women who aren't ideal. Like, I don't walk out and see Bernices everywhere I go. I don't walk out and see Coco Chanel's everywhere I go. It's a lot of these women. I don't see Jujos everywhere I go. Right. But I do see regular women with aesthetically sexy features.
Trying to emulate that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not enough for them just to be embraced by what it is that they have to offer. Like, you know, what it is that, and it's worse than that. Instead of getting to a point where it's like, let me be motivated by these women, a lot of these women are detracted by it. So it causes insecurities within their own relationships, insecurities within themselves, and it's like, well, how do I compete? Let me lend myself to going out and doing all the extremities that these women are doing. Now, instead of somebody being wholesome, it's just a selfie. Now it's, I gotta show you all my curves. I gotta wear a more revealing shirt, or I gotta be out in something that shows more of my thigh. Because now I'm competing with people that they don't even know I'm competing with them. And the person who I'm with and who I love and validates me doesn't know I'm competing with, but I see that that's what they like. I go back and I can see the last 6 pictures you like were da-da-da-da-da-da. And now I'm none of these women, so I had to figure out ways to reinvent myself, where even if I'm getting attention, it's not from you, it's from other people, maybe you'll notice that I'm important too. And I feel like that's a version of self-hate that's just not spoken about.
And I don't want to just make it seem like we just talking about the women.
Of course not. Of course not.
It happens with dudes too.
It's kind of like kids all the time.
Yeah, it happened with kids early.
Tell us about where it happens with kids, because I mean, real shit.
So, all right, so look, take it like this. So it's a couple of different ways, right? One, you can have parents, right? So let's say your parents weren't raised right. Babies having babies. So now your parents don't know how to act around you. Let's say, for example, your mom, single mom, right? She was let's say she was a singer. She was a singer on her way to the top. Just moved out to LA, got a great deal. Then she has a kid, right? She views this kid now as, I have to give this kid everything, but I have to sacrifice my shot at being the best singer in the world or selling 1 million records and having millions of fans love me.
Right.
So she resents herself for that. So now every time she looks at you as a son or a daughter, as her kid, that's what she sees, is that resentment, that hate, that why did I have to have you? Why did you have to happen? You messed up my life. So then the kid starts to do something good. He does something good. She probably loves him for a little while. Then he gets a little bit older, and she starts to, that hate starts to manifest. So she might, for example, you get a trophy. You do well in school. She might say, great, and give you a hug, right? That's it. And then maybe the next thing you do, she just says, yeah, that's cool, right? And then all of a sudden, that turns into, hey, get your ass up and do the dishes, you little lazy mother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And all that hate starts to manifest. So then that kid starts to hear, what's wrong with me? That's what his thought is, what's wrong with me? Right? Back to that thought. That's where that comes in. And now he's like, what's wrong with me? I got to figure it out, what's wrong with me? And then probably because his mom's telling him that, he's probably going to be isolated in some way. So he's not going to have mad friends. And plus, if your parents are that way as a kid, you know it, because kids are perceptive. So you ain't going to have your friends come over. And you probably ain't going to have friends because you can't have nobody come over.
True.
And plus, they can sense that too. So they're going to sense that your mom don't like you or your friends don't like you. You're going to try to hide it, one or the other. And so all that builds up, and this kid is left thinking, what's wrong with me? And then he tries to do things. This is where the self-hate is kind of like a coping mechanism too. Because what if at this point in time the kid his mom starts smacking him, right, hitting him? What would the mom do if she walked into the room yelling at the kid? He just smacked himself, right? She'll probably be like, well, one, he'll think, yeah, something's wrong with me. If I smack myself, then I can probably fix it, and maybe she'll like me a little bit more. And she could be like, well, you deserve that. You should do that more often, right? So now the hate is just coming out, but that's how it stems in kids. And that's just one example, but
it sounds like pressures.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I witnessed what he said in real life. The cycle from mom to daughter to daughter. Like I've seen just happen like that, where the child didn't ask to be here. You as an adult had sex with whoever you chose to have sex with. That's where a lot of times where people like to blame, right? And in order to fix things, we must look inside first. Like that's the first person. I always have conversations with myself, like Rozay, before you say what you about to say to them. What did you do wrong? How could you have changed this? And then I'm 100 with myself, and I have that conversation with myself. I'm like, you know what? I could have did this, and it wouldn't have went that way, and I understand that. So let me say that. I shouldn't have did this. I should have did it this way. I apologize for that. So a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people's first instinct is to blame. So in that situation, a lot of people complain they don't like their mate, a bad baby daddy or a bad baby mom. But they don't talk about that you are the person who made a choice to have unprotected sex with this person. You got to wear that. You got to wear that. If you didn't find out who this person was in life before you chose to have that type of sex with them, you got to wear that.
Right.
If you had sex with this person in 3 weeks and they got pregnant and you didn't get to learn what their morals are and what they live by and things like that.
To play contrarian to that, like it's so unfortunate that is kind of like somebody's burden to bear, having to deal with these after effects and these remnants of not knowing a person and fully being exposed to who they were before those decisions were made. But a lot of times you can live in your own fantasy if somebody's selling you a dream continuously. Like if the representative is just that great of an actor or a portrayal of who they want to be, their self-hate is then causing them to suppress all the things about themselves that are negative, that's
dangerous.
Yeah, and it's happened. It's happened to me. Like I can honestly sit here and say, like, dealing with my own self-hate, it's been exhausting. It's been overwhelming. And without the last maybe year of therapy or whatever, trying to come to terms with why I feel certain ways about certain things, why I react and cope with things the way I do or don't. It's always been for me trying to find perfection in what it is that I'm doing, whether it be in life, love, relationships, friendships, whatever the case may be. I've always felt like I wasn't good enough because I come from a place or a background where I didn't have enough. You grow up poor, you grow up disenfranchised, where everybody around you has all these nice things, and you deal with a family structure where you don't even have a bed to call your own. You're living with these amount of sisters and brothers and close quarters, and the love is not spread evenly. You can't, your mom doesn't talk to you the same way she talks to your older sister or your younger brother, and it may be good or maybe at your detriment. That's how I live. So my entire time, like growing up in my household, it depends on who you ask. My aunts, my cousins, my uncles, I was considered like my mom's favorite child because I was always the person thinking like, how can I educate myself to get out of my situation? So that prompted me to go to college. Now I'm living in two hells because I'm always thinking about my accomplishments and that being too good to be thrust upon my brothers and sisters if they don't meet those standards, or the fear of failure, feeling like, well, I'm never going to be able to compete with people that go to this PWI who come from money, who come from secure households or sustained backgrounds where they don't have to worry about, well, okay, when you leave class, if you don't have money on your card, who's going to make sure you have food? If you don't have a card and your check doesn't come in from school from a refund, then how are you going to get back and forth? And if you don't have the best relationship with aunts, uncles, cousins, then where are you going to stay if you're not putting money towards a campus housing? And these are things I had to think about growing up. So it's always been an internal struggle for me. So it's only reared itself when I get older, suppressing these things, you know, with comedy or dressing nice, overcompensating. When you were young, I couldn't get J's, couldn't get Nikes, and everything I wore was a hand-me-down from an older cousin or something like that. So now I feel like to fit in, to be inclusive of the friendships that I built, the relationships, the affinity for women that I want, now I have to conduct myself the same way that people who have it and who come from it do, just to be able to keep my head above water. So now I'm internalizing all my resentment towards that because I feel like, what about my personality isn't enough? What about the way I talk isn't enough? What about the way I carry myself with some type of moral compass isn't enough for you to understand that I'm somebody of value? So now I'm still internalizing that self-hate, and as I get older as a male, without having people to talk to, males who have gone through the same thing, who've experienced the same. My stepfather was a great father, but he wasn't a great vocalizer. He wasn't a great orator. He couldn't talk to me about the life shit I was dealing with as a man coming up from 15 to 18, being out of my parents' house and trying to figure out how to make my own self in the world. I had my older cousin for that, and then he has his own issues, and he ain't no more than 7, 8 years my senior. So how much can he tell me about life that I ain't already experienced? So these things always play a part. It's like you said, from childhood to adulthood, it's just a cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it like you said, man, it's a lot, man. It's a lot of, it just goes it's so deep. Like, we could talk about this for like
that
8 hours.
Dangerous, man.
It's super deep, man.
It's dangerous.
It's an imploding thing. Like,
yeah,
you get almost to a
turns
point.
To depression.
You get almost to a point where you've tried to expound upon your worth. You've tried to display your worth either through actions or words, and then for people to not be receptive of you, even after all the time that you put in doubting self or looking down on self because of your conditions or where you come from, and that doesn't justify anything. It doesn't.
Think about it like this: when's the last time you spoke about something that you hate? Right? We're more likely to talk about things we like than things that we dislike. So if I have a ton of self-hate and I hate myself for multiple reasons, and I'm having that thought, well, then I'm not going to talk about it to anybody. It's going to take a lot for me to even try to open up to you. Like, you would have to come in my house and see my dad punch me in the face and me fall on the ground and kick me in the stomach and tell me that, you know, this B isn't good enough and I'm not smart enough for me to actually want to tell you about what I'm going through, because now you done seen it, and I didn't really want you to see it, but you kind of just fell into it. Right. You know what I mean? So that's and then the biggest thing for me about self-hate is one, how it manifests. Like, you was posting pictures of Sammy Sosa, right? Michael Jackson,
the brother in the Ku Klux Klan hat.
Right. Yeah. So and not only that, but if you watch Django, you see Samuel L. Jackson
that's the crab environmentality
in the home.
Right.
Like, why is this Negro up on this stair?
Right.
And not no
That
Alabama.
shit was crazy,
That's no
bro.
Alabama.
That shit was
on.
crazy that he was more upset than the man who owns the place.
Yeah, that really
he was more upset than the man who owns the place, letting a man who looks just like him into the big house.
But that speaks
that
to
shit was insane.
That speaks to a different point about how Meek addressed it with kids and self-hate, and then, you know, growing up internalizing these things, and now them coming to fruition as an adult. That's man versus man shit when it comes to self-hate.
And I don't think most people understand that they have this self-hate. Because a lot of people will chalk it up of they'll just chalk it up. This is who I am. This is what I am. Like, for example, like when a black girl says I'm not dating a black dude, or black dude says I'm not dating a black girl, or you know, something along those lines. Like, why is that? Why do you feel that way? Oh, that's because I like this other type of girl more. Well, what is it specifically about this person that you don't like, right? Probably it's because their skin color, right? And why do you hate their skin color? Well, if you loved your skin color so much, then you would probably be more likely to date someone with your skin color, and regardless of whether or not that's black, white, Asian, it doesn't really matter. You just be more inclined to do it because you would have a certain affinity for that skin color, right? And it would make you proud to hold that. Right now, we know, like you said, we're brought up in where we see tons and tons of ads and images, and you know, it's in our history, it's in America's history, that we view certain people a certain way and think a certain way, and until we realize that we feel that way, we're not really changing anything. We're really just fooling ourselves and masking it, because you're not doing anything. You can't do anything about something until you realize that something's going on that you need to fix.
Right.
That's why I can't.
Like you said, yeah.
It troubles me for the world of me when I meet. I'll kiss. It's a long stretch calling them brothers, but black men who don't date black women and prefer white women. Now, I don't know very many men like this, but I have met some over my time. So it's like, it's a fear of inclusion, or a fear of being left out of something that's bigger than yourself. That has to be what it is. A black man who doesn't have strength enough to...
I had a great conversation with a man just like that. And he explained to me logically
why
I'll
never find logic in that.
Because the only reason that you say that is because you are black.
And I love black women.
And you love black women.
Of course.
Right. I'm black. I love black women. This guy explained to me.
Was he raised by white people?
No. He was raised by
Did he have a black mother?
Black mother, black father. Both parents still together for 50 years.
I can't make no excuses for a brother who would deviate from his people based on...
It's not deviation.
It's deviation,
It's
bro.
not deviation.
It's deviation.
Rozay, did he say it had to do something with a status symbol or goal?
No,
none of that.
None of that, because he's nobody. He's not
No,
a status person.
It's that okay? So if you're black and you view white as the being better,
progress,
just as being better, then when I see this white woman and next to a black woman, I tend to go to the white woman. Why? Because more people are going to accept the white woman, and then on top of that, if I'm a black man with a white woman, when I get around white people, it's like, okay, he got himself a white girl.
His story is...
I'm gonna let you finish, but to argue your point, even if he felt like being next to a white woman was gonna better his chance of being accepted, black people are still a minority in America. So the circles and the crowds that you want to be accepted in are majority white. And they're gonna look at you as just another nigga.
We're not changing that view, but he doesn't see it that way.
This is why you do let me finish. This is why you do let me finish the story.
Expound, brother.
Because
brother.
a lot of times we're guilty of this. We add narratives to things just because of one resolution. So you think that a black man is dating a white woman because he doesn't like black women. That's not always true. One.
No, right.
A black man dating a black man dating a white woman is not always for status. A black man dating a white woman is not always for acceptance. This man here did not have one other white friend besides the girl. She's the only white person that he's ever been around.
Right.
She is just a white girl. She's not a white girl that acts black, or she's just a regular white girl. His family think like most of us think, and he shouldn't be with a white girl. But he's going against his family for this white girl. Not because he wants to be accepted, not because he's in the business world and you need to have a blonde white woman on your arm. He really truly cares for this girl. Second of all, he gave me the comparisons of what is the struggle of dating black women versus dating a white woman with his particular experience with this particular white girl. It wasn't that she was better. It wasn't that she looked better. It was like she's less combative. And I can understand that to a point because we have been through shit as a black race. There's a lot of shit that's fucking with us. There's a lot of shit going on. I got pulled over the other day, and I almost had an anxiety attack because in my mind I'm thinking, what do I do? Because my wallet is in my back pocket.
Right.
Do I reach for it, or when he comes to the window and says license and registrations, do I say I'm gonna reach in my pocket now? Like, it's not a gun. You can say all of this, he'll still shoot you. So I damn near had like an anxiety attack, thinking like, damn, what should I do? So when he got to the window, I just kept my hands on 10 and 2.
That's the smartest thing to do.
10 and 2, and he said license and registration, and I said, sir, it is in my back pocket. It's not a gun. It's not nothing at all. I'm reaching for my wallet. He's like, man, calm down, man.
Well, that's the most compliant thing you can do. See, in that sense, it makes a lot of sense.
But
you didn't just being run for your like.
Right, but at the same time, I have to process that when I get pulled over.
So let me tell you why I'm going to.
No, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. So, in that process, it's a lot of shit that fucks us up. It's already fucked up that we look at a white person that we don't have no idea, don't know nothing about them. We automatically view them a different way. We hate when they do that to us. But in our minds, we have been controlled to look at white people at a certain way, not knowing that that white person looks at you the same way. You've never had that conversation. You're basing that off their skin. That is where we sometimes are hypocrites, because we look at white people and make a judgment off of them based off them being white because of what we've been taught that white people are. I've had many conversations with white people that they think just like we think, wholeheartedly, not acting. I can see through bullshit, not acting. They feel the same way we feel. So I feel like a lot of times we see a black man with a white woman, and you automatically come to all of these resolutions that you have no idea if they're true or not. You're just coming to those resolutions based off of what you've been controlled and told and trained to think about the other race.
I see that too.
So let me get in my bag, because what I'm saying, point your points, and I completely agree with everything you said. But what I'm speaking to is not being in a position where you can't help but who you love based on y'all affinity for each other, based on your common interest or the way that you view life versus the way they view life, your goals, your aspirations. That's just love, essentially love. The only problem I have with that is he contradicted himself because he compared black women to white women because they're less combative. I don't want a submissive woman. And if you're a man who wants somebody that's less combative, that makes you weak in my eyes.
But that's you.
My best, but what I'm saying,
your opinion,
but what I'm
everyone's
saying is,
opinion.
Okay, and that's true to be understood. What I'm saying is my issues with what I'm talking about, black women dating white women, is I know black men who personally, and this is just their agenda, don't want to date a black woman. Right. They prefer to have a white woman or a woman of a different ethnicity, preferably not Spanish, but somebody that's white of Caucasity. Like, and they want to be with somebody.
But that's my point.
But the same reason the brother that you were talking to wanted to be with this woman.
Even in your comparison, you separated black woman and white woman.
He did too.
No, he didn't.
He said
he was talking about his experiences with women. This one just happened to be white.
And you said a white woman, she is less combative. So what is he comparing that white woman to?
Other women who are more combative.
Who did he date before that? Black women, right?
Right.
So black women, he's comparing black women to white women. That makes him weak in my eyes.
No,
because you are.
But that's not automatically what that means.
You prefer a submissive woman over a woman who can stand her own ground.
Why do you think that it makes a man weak if he wants a woman who listens?
Because you are in control of your own actions and reactions. If you are with a woman who is combative, who doesn't agree with everything that you say, she's not bending at your will, then
that doesn't mean bend at the will. That doesn't mean bend at the will.
Then you can separate yourself from that.
Let me ask you this. What color women are the most combative women? Trick question. Any woman can be combative.
What's crazy is I can't answer that question for you because I've only ever dated black women.
Right.
I only know one. I only know one race woman.
Do you think that any woman could be combative?
Every woman can be combative.
Okay. So what he's saying is that when he was talking to old buddy, he was talking about lessening
the degree of combativeness,
right? But
based on skin color.
No. Let me ask you this.
That's just the results.
That's not.
She could be Puerto Rican.
Yeah. He's saying it could be any kind. Listen, if I dated the rainbow, right, and I talk about women who've been combative, right? You could say that I'm not talking about any one woman because I've dated the rainbow. But if I've only dated one particular type of woman, I can talk about how that particular type of woman or the women I've dated have been combative.
We can agree to disagree on this, because the way I feel about it is, if you are a man of a certain race, then you have a certain cognitive understanding of what it takes to be somebody in this skin. You already know what black women are dealing with. You already know what black men are dealing with. So to say that a black woman is more combative, so you'd rather date a woman of a different...
He didn't say black women are more combative.
That's a comparison.
Because that's what he's dated.
We agree with what
All right, so you just said that's what he dated.
Have you experienced dating a white woman?
No, never. Right. I don't know whether they're more combative or not, but I wouldn't want to be with a woman that's
so then maybe we should listen to a person who has experienced both.
It makes it right.
You're speaking to something that you have not no experience with.
So if this man sold you a dream saying that white women are less combative,
the fact you said he sold me a dream.
I'm just asking you.
It shows your mind perspective on it. That you already view it in a negative way before you knew any specifics. You viewed it a certain way.
I'm only because my initial argument was I know black men who deviate from dating black women specifically to date white women. So what he said, and I addressed that point.
But what are they dating them for?
What
are they dating them for?
Huh?
What are they dating them for?
What you mean?
You said they deviate from dating black women to date white women.
They have their own conditions. His conditions that are in place is that she's less combative. That's a condition for moving from one race to another race. If all you dated before was black women, you decide to date a white woman because she doesn't have the same characteristics as everything else that you ever known, there is a comparison in place. That comparison has to do with race at that point in time.
You said everything that you ever known. That's not what he's saying.
I'm taking from what you said. I don't know this nigga.
You talked about combative. You just said everything that's
different.
I asked you, what did he date prior to dating this white woman?
Black women.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But again,
then that's my point.
He didn't date the white woman because she was less combative.
Right.
He noticed that after dating her,
and I said love is love. But then when you add those,
love is meeting somebody and having a conversation.
Look at that. Look at the way he addressed it. It doesn't say that she's less temperamental, or she's more understanding, and she's more loving. She's less combative. You're putting a negative connotation on a black woman by saying that dating a white woman is less combative.
Okay. I put two black women right here. One of them is less combative than the other one. I choose this black woman because she's less combative. I'm wrong? Or I'm right now because...
No, but you didn't deviate from dating a black woman to go to a different hue of person to figure
but that's not why
But that's not why he left. He didn't leave black women.
But he made the comparison in the end.
Yeah, after he found out. My nigga, you're not listening.
I get what you're saying, but it doesn't make it right. He said deviate from black women.
What you're saying is I'm saying he didn't date his 20th black girl and say, I'm had enough of this shit. I can't take it no more.
He did make a conscious decision to be like, you know what? Enough is a fucking enough.
No, how do you know that?
Something gotta be done.
You know that? He don't even have white friends. He don't even have white friends.
In his mind, he figured it out. He was like, you know what? Damn.
Now you're speaking for him.
No, I'm speaking from your perspective.
No, you're not. You're adding shit, my nigga.
We agree to disagree, bro.
You're adding shit.
I would never be. I've had my fair share of trials and tribulations with black women, dark skin and light skin alike. I'm never gonna deviate from somebody who understands my struggle.
That's
understands
you.
Okay,
that's you.
And I'm gonna be a
We just did a whole episode of how they don't understand our struggle. We just did 2 full episodes.
And I'd rather go to war with them than somebody that's not
that's
black.
You.
That's how I feel.
That's you.
I made this comment to somebody.
That's weak. Because a nigga would rather be with a woman that's less combative. Take the white away from it. You adding a white perspective to it.
There are less combative black women is what I'm saying.
But in his experience,
he settled on a different hue because it was fitting for whatever his personality.
No, he settled on a different woman.
So you think it's okay for me to...
Y'all not gonna pay me as a racist, bro. I'm not a racist.
You sound like a racist.
No, I'm far from a racist. I believe everybody's entitled to date. I need something to do. I believe...
Oh, shit. That's God talking to you.
So let me set up and make my point, because maybe I should be a spoken order. But I believe everybody is entitled.
Why you standing, my nigga? That's way too much.
I feel moved by this shit. I hate that we gotta talk about this brother's experience with black women.
I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, the general perspective of when people take a look at a black man dating a white woman is that, oh, he went to the other side. That's not productive in the mind to think like that.
Nothing about that triggers you to believe there is some form or level of self-hate within this brother because he settled on dating somebody. I'm sure if he'd have...
Why is that settling?
What was it about the white woman that drew his interest?
Because she had great conversation skills.
Or maybe he was thinking to myself, well, you know what? I dealt with enough black women who are combative, and maybe I want to try something different.
We just don't know.
Is there something wrong with that right there?
What's that?
that I've dated a lot of black women. It hasn't worked. Let me try to date something
my personal
else.
opinion is weak.
Because she's white. So if he would have went from black to Puerto Rican, it would have been okay.
Well, white women are more docile. That's a given fact.
They're more what?
They're more docile. They're more submissive. They are. That's a proven fact.
So is something wrong for a man dating a white woman because she's that?
If you're a man,
if he dated black people
if you're
before.
if you're a man of not of a certain ilk and you want to settle on somebody who's not going to give you
so you want to argue all day?
No, I don't want to argue. I just want to be able to have a meeting of the minds of somebody who's from the same background as me. I don't want to have to deviate from my entire race to get to a point of understanding with somebody I feel like I can build a life with.
I can agree
and that's
with
a black woman.
I can agree with you on that certain point because I feel like at the end of the day, when you walk through the door and you just got pulled over by the cops, or you left the meeting. And when you shut the door, you forgot your papers, so you walk back in the meeting and you hear them making racist jokes. When you come home, whoever's on this couch waiting for you, if she ain't the same color as you, she ain't gonna understand that same struggle.
That's gonna be a reflection.
And I said this to somebody too, because I asked them, they were in a interracial relationship, and I said, do you think that the other person can actually feel your struggle when they come home at night? And the answer was no, because. It's simply because those sort of things don't typically happen to white people. When they get pulled over, they're not really worried about it too much, unless they got something in the car they shouldn't have, right? But
and then
I had a cop behind. Every time a cop gets behind me, man, I get so nervous. Like, yo, is he about to pull me over? I ain't do nothing wrong. What's gonna happen next? Like, just that little bit of anxiety. You might not be able to understand it because you haven't been through it, and that's not your reality. For example, I went to a showing the other day at a brewery for an organization it's called Let Me Run, and we had it was all mostly white people in there. There's a couple black dudes in there, and after the movie we got to talk, and afterwards one of the white ladies, she was saying that she lives in this little bubble, so she didn't understand that the type of we watched the film was about pretty much how about masculinity. And she was like, I didn't realize this sort of thing happened because she lived in this little bubble, right? So if you live in that little bubble, your reality is not the same as mine. So when I come to the door at night and I try to tell you mine, you could probably empathize with me because I'm feeling sad. You know what it's like to feel sad. But as far as feeling angry and you probably do have a little hate in you. Like, you might want to punch something at that point in time just to let it out, and they might not be able to relate to that. So I definitely understand what you're saying as far as you at a certain point in time, you want to step out and go somewhere else, and that's kind of weak. And I understand why you're saying that, because you feel like they gonna relate to your struggle more because y'all share that bond.
Nobody relates to a black man like a black woman.
Right. Yep.
Even with y'all indifference, even if y'all are at war, y'all struggling, y'all going at odds. I can hate you and you can hate me in this moment or whatever, but our struggles, our bonds that tie us together are always gonna forever trump everything else that we got going on.
But you do.
We can go to war. We can go to war with the world today.
And lose.
And if it's a race war or whatever,
and lose.
Black versus white, I want to be able to have my black queen by my side who's going to embrace the struggle that I'm going through. I don't want to be at odds with my white girlfriend, my white queen, or, you know what I'm saying, having these things, these constructs that are in place.
See, but that's the thing is that as much as we want inclusion, we also want separation, and that's we have to stop contradicting ourselves on that, because as much as we want to be included in every fucking thing, no black person won the Grammy, we need the Grammy. Well, no black person won this. No, we want to be included, but then we want separation. So which one do you want?
No, I said that. I said a part of self-hate is the fear of inclusion, the fear or lack thereof inclusion.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We can't be so strong-minded about relationships. There's plenty of white people who side with black people, get out there and march. And there was white people with Martin Luther King.
And I 1,000% wholeheartedly understand that. What I'm saying,
because it's not always about just black. It's
I'm
accepting of
interracial relationships.
Humans.
Black men choosing white women. That's who you love is who you love, and it's strictly from a standpoint of I love. It's divinity. It's a divinity of my background versus your background. Us coming to common grounds in terms about what it is that we're doing, how we love, how we display our love, how we communicate about our love, that's one thing. But to say that I'm going to be with a white woman because she's more or less of something else than someone else that I'm familiar with, that's from my own background, that to me is weak. Love who you love.
That sounds like That's what I'm looking for. Preference. That sounds like preference to me. You can make it about race, but it sounds like preference. If I just like
it's only about race when it's a comparative.
But that's what I'm saying. If I'm comparing two black girls and one is more combative than the other one, and I choose the lesser combative, that's okay. That's a fine decision. You're saying that now that becomes wrong if the girl changes.
No,
skin.
I'm only comparing it when everything that you know is black, and then what you decide to choose after the fact is white, and you're saying that, well, I'm with a white woman because she's less competitive. She's less combative than everything that I've known prior to.
Or this white woman is less combative than every other woman I experienced before now.
Black woman.
But what does that mean?
What if he had dated one white? What if he ever dated was white?
Then that's the difference. We're not. See, that's not a part of
it changes.
It changes the whole narrative.
If he dated one white girl before that, then it's cool.
Of course. Because now you have more. You have more. We're talking, bro. We're talking about a needle. It's a needle in a haystack situation. Like you picking this one unique individual out of this slew of women that you've ever been with. What separates her from everybody else that you've been around is that the skin tone, her background is completely different from yours. And the one thing that you say is she's less combative than everybody that I dated, but everybody I dated prior to this was black. That sounds like a comparison where it's self-hate. You're now projecting your negative experiences with black women on a whole race, and so because of that, you choose somebody of a different race.
You do that.
I don't.
You do.
If I'm dating all black women?
You do talk about your negative experiences with women. Two people.
But I move on to other black women that are better in those situations.
But it don't matter. You're still creating that narrative just like he is.
But I'm not sitting around talking about, you know what, this it's like saying this sign of a woman versus this sign of a woman. Black woman is more combative versus another combative.
If that's his
woman.
Experience.
That's a preferential thing.
You can't take away his
I ain't fucking with no more
experience.
Scorpios. I ain't fucking with no more Cancers. Like,
So the skin color is not preference.
No, it's not preference.
What
month you was born in, how you
look how I'm about to get him though. You just talked about skin tone the last fucking shit.
Well, we're talking about my preferences. We're talking because I'm only dating black women.
But that's what I'm saying. You dating a specific skin tone.
I don't need to compare a black woman to a white woman to know that's what I like based on her
no, my
skin
nigga.
tone. Don't
leave what I just said. Don't leave what I just said.
I'm listening.
You said a specific skin color was your preference.
Black woman.
It don't matter. It's a certain skin tone that you said in black women. That's a colorism too.
Based on my relatable experiences in life. Ain't nobody gonna get me like a black woman.
He's saying what I said back to me.
No, you're not saying the same thing.
I said his relatable experiences through life.
We're trying to tie in what I'm saying to justify this man's decision about dating white women versus dating black women. That's what we're doing, bro.
You see the conviction that he says just on white women?
Yeah,
it's like a thing. It's like a
It's
like a You know what I'm saying? That's the thing is that when people don't understand.
I'm here for the sisters, bro.
People,
and it's his
out here, I've never dated a white woman in my life.
I know I gotta be a contrarian, but the dude, I can't argue a point for a man that says he's only dated black women and decides to date a white woman, and then the one thing that he said separates this woman versus this woman, not her nurturing nature.
It was the one thing. You never let me
get
to anything else.
Yeah, one thing we pinpoint.
Don't say everything. You're saying everything. Don't say everything.
I'm holding fast to that shit because
I'm pretty sure it's a conversation, the understanding, the love, genuine love he's getting.
Well, what point do you
he's cut from that ilk. He's not accepting no bullshit.
Then that's right back to what I said. You love who you love. I have no problem with people loving who they love if you want to chance that and experience it with somebody else.
Do you think that more situations is they need a white woman for the other shit you're talking about, or do you think more situations of interracial couples is love? Which one do you think is more?
Right now?
Yeah.
It's probably more love. But given take away the last 10 years, bro, I just said I'm all for people dating interracially. I have no issue with that. For me personally, it's not gonna work. I don't want to have to figure out, you know what? Every black person, every woman that I've dated has not been combative. Every woman I've dated has not been the problem. There have been instances where I've been an ain't shit nigga. And good women leaving me was on their own accord, and I understood that.
That's you.
But so if I decide, this nigga was the best nigga he could be in every black situation he was with, every woman he was with, so he decided, I'm such a great nigga, I keep dealing with combative ass women.
It's impossible for him to be a good dude.
It's impossible. Nobody's
It's impossible for him to be a good dude.
He could be a good dude, but
and,
nobody's
and have 8 bad relationships.
He could have flaws within his own self that's keeping those relationships from working. It can't be just
nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But what I'm saying is, there could be 8 relationships he had that didn't work out, and it was more favor to the woman's side.
Women get fed up too. So if she's being combative, maybe she's combative.
What if he was the one who dumped all of them? What if he dumped all of them?
Not possible. Everybody been dumped by somebody.
I ain't never been dumped. That's a lie. I ain't never been dumped. That's a lie.
Somebody's been fed up with your shit.
Who?
Somebody.
I've never been dumped.
I don't know your track
I've
record.
never been dumped.
I couldn't put in that.
They watching all of them. I've never been dumped.
Y'all right in.
If I've been dumped, comment under this video.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this
I've
shit.
never been dumped.
Let me ask y'all this.
Never.
Let me ask y'all this. Do y'all? I feel like I had two things here. One self-hate is that people feel that they're not doing enough in their own private, personal lives, and when they see someone else doing something good, they're not even willing to do something that costs them no effort, no time, no energy. We're talking a couple seconds to do. For example, like reposting this video, right? So you got people out there watching the videos that don't repost the video, even though you're trying to do something good with your time. You're spending your time in a wise manner. You got multiple areas of revenue coming in. You're trying to build a brand, right? It costs nobody anything to just take a second and repost the video, share a link, retweet, do those things.
Right.
I think one, self-hate stops them from doing that.
Right.
They feel they're not doing enough. They need to do more, but they're not doing that, and so in turn they hate themselves for not doing that. So when they scroll across your vid, they like, yeah, I could like that, I could watch that, I could repost that, but man, forget that. I ain't doing that. The second thing is y'all don't think that the word nigga has some type of self-hate built into it?
It's a word that we give that word value.
I understand that.
We give that word power.
And I understand that. And things change over time.
Bullshit, though.
And
that we give nigga power?
I think we give words power, period.
Yeah. So
it's just like, to me, it's just another word.
And I try to refrain from saying nigga so much when I'm having conversations with my homies. I call them my bros and my boys and stuff like that. But I mean, of course, I'm from a certain ilk. I come from a certain background.
Right.
So you only gonna speak what you know. So I'm around niggas. I'm like, what's good, my nigga? How you? You good, everybody? That's just how we talk. It's a word. We attach affinity to it. For us, it's not a self-hatred thing because we're showing love. It's like, I ain't saying the ER. ER sounds inflammatory. It sounds very derogatory. It's condescending.
And that's my thing. We know where it came from.
Right,
to me, it's like this. And this is just me thinking out loud, but if I took some shit and I put some whipped cream on top of that motherfucker, right? And I served it to you, it's still what? It's still shit. It's just pretty shit now. Right? So that's how I look at the word.
That's why I hate when people say you took the ER off and add the A. What the fuck is this, a spelling bee? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? I say it all the time.
Yeah.
But I also don't beat white people up for saying nigga.
Nah, see, I'm gonna have a die.
Especially when you watch Django and everybody
First of all, bro, if a stranger calls me a nigga, that's their ignorance.
You're not gonna go to put the beats on niggas if they call you a nigga?
A white
person can never call me a nigga, can't say nigga around me. I ain't built like that.
But what I'm saying is, what's the end result? You're gonna assault them.
Violence.
You're gonna go to jail.
Violence.
You're gonna miss work.
You're
gonna have to pay bond.
That's
for a stranger who don't know shit about you.
Because I have self-worth. I know my self-worth. You can't be somebody
that
from.
Doesn't say you know yourself.
I do. Because you can't be somebody not from my background, not from my ethnicity to say those words and to think that's just okay. I had a conversation with a dude 2 weeks ago. And he was like, well, I was born a certain kind of way and I was raised in a da-da-da-da. And I was like, that's cool, my dude. I get it. I respect you. You respect me as a man. But don't say nigga around me. Don't say nigger around me. That's going to result in a different type of conflict. We can have an open conversation and dialogue about it. For me, it's just a respect thing. I'm not comfortable with somebody not of my hue speaking those words. Whether you saying it from an affinity standpoint or you being malicious, I'm gonna take it in the same tone at all times.
So how does that?
What you think will make you more of a man?
It ain't about being more of a man.
It is because you're talking about your ilk.
I'm talking about respect. You already know how egregious that word is. How it affects people of my skin tone.
Is it egregious?
It is egregious.
No, it's a trigger word.
There are some people who sit around, and I know this for a fact, who are not raised from these impoverished backgrounds of black people, or even from this hip hop generation, where they feel like I know and I can't relate to you based on the things that you've been through, the things that your people have been through, even if you come up in a very suburban household with a nice house, a nice car, 2 parents, you got a dog and all that other shit, and you can still be black, and I can feel comfortable saying that word around you because, you know what, you're still my friend, and I know you, and we come from the same neighborhood, and our moms went to PTA together, so you're my nigger. Nah, I'm fucking you up.
Let me ask you this.
Because you don't
What if it was
saying
an
is-
Indian dude?
Huh?
What if it was Indian?
It's still the same shit. You can't be a nigga around.
You know what they call
can't
Indian
not
people?
be a nigga around me and say nigga, bro.
Right. You know what they call Indian people though? They call them sand niggers.
I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm speaking
Again,
from
This is what I'm saying.
Tyree.
That's what I'm saying.
Again,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
so-
saying. To me, that's just some macho man ego shit. You know why?
I
Because
agree.
listen.
You got self-worth.
It's respect.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think is more respectable? You laughing at the clown who just called you a word that they think would trigger you, or you acting what they want you to do?
You know what's
is to
crazy?
turn
And
up.
I get where y'all going with this. The man me now, I'm less prone to act when it comes to like a violent situation. But at the same time, I'm not gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ask you what you said. I'm gonna ask you what you meant by it. We're gonna have a conversation, an open dialogue. And I feel like if it's coming from any place that's malicious, then it's different. Then my tone is gonna be different. My temperament is gonna be different.
I'm gonna say this.
Because I'm all about a conversation first.
Anybody who hear that, anybody get called something they don't like, one, call the other person out, right? You say something I don't like, listen, you're ignorant, you're a bad person for even saying that, and it may sound corny, I'm just saying it how I would say it. Like, you a bad person for that, I don't like you for saying that, that's the end of the conversation. But for me to want to beat this dude up, and I done been there. I done been around situations where I had to do things that I'm not necessarily proud of doing, that I had to do. But looking at that now, that was weak of me, man. Because I ain't have to, like, I have a certain standard that I have to hold myself to, right? You don't sniff coke, right? But if you got around people sniffing coke and you want to sniff some coke, that's a violation of your own morals. You got to accept that as a man. I get around other people and they talking stuff I don't like. If I want to violate one of them, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to get in trouble, right? What, you a man, you got responsibilities, you got bills, you got a job, you got a family.
That's a fact.
And you can't take care of them now because you let your morals slip because some dude who ignorant, who just a bad person.
It's gonna be a conversation had before any pause get laid on anybody. I'm a firm believer in.
I agree with
I
that.
know how to voice my concerns, my disinterest, my distaste with whatever it is that you're kicking out or saying to me. When we get to a point where you can't convey what it is that you're saying and why you're saying it without giving me a justifiable reason, and now it's not just disrespect. It's outright disrespect.
There is no justifiable reason. How could they give you one?
Like, if he's an actor, if he's in the movie acting,
you can be apologetic. I mean, we watch movies. It's all entertainment. This is all satire. Nope. Half the people that say those words
so if your
don't
homeboy
feel
around
that way.
you, so if there's a white person around you and they singing Future Come On and they singing word for word, not leaving anything out, that's okay?
No,
that's just for
it's
entertainment.
not okay. My thing
just
is,
for entertainment,
I would
though.
never be around a white person who would feel like they would have that much comfort with me to say that word in my presence.
You can't say that.
I know this.
You can't say that.
I've never been around a single white nigga. I played high school sports, junior high school. I played sports my entire life.
Yeah, I'm not talking
black.
about your teammates and white folks who've been around black folks and those black folks let them say it's okay. I ain't talking about somebody who's saying it like that. I'm talking about you at a bar and you bumped into a dude, you turn around and call you a nigga. I really don't think that in that point you gonna want to have a conversation, just knowing you.
I can't promise you that.
Right, I know you, nigga. That's what I'm saying.
Based on what?
Yeah.
No, I can't see you trying to have a conversation over the fucking future at the bar.
When I talk to people, when I try to have an open dialogue with people, I always lead with communication, no matter how fucking terrible shit gets after the fact. I always approach every situation with some type of communication. It's always about your understanding versus my understanding. Now, when we get beside that, you start losing track of the fact that I'm trying to have an open back and forth with you, where you can voice your concerns or issues, and I can voice my concerns or issues, and it starts borderline teetering on more disrespect. That's the only time that it implodes. That's the only time it blows up. So if you call me a nigga, you bump me or some shit like that, of course I'm gonna be in my bag. Of course I'm gonna feel a certain type of way, especially if I'm around other individuals of the same skin tone as me, who I speak for, especially like a black woman. If I'm with my black queen and we out and I bump a white dude and he calls me nigga, now to let you disrespect me as a man, you're disrespecting my entire situation. I can't let that pass. And you can call it not being somebody in control or restraint. It'll have to be what it's gonna be. My pride, my self-worth, me knowing my value as a black man will not let me tolerate that. It's never gonna happen.
So I appreciate your compassion and everything about that. But the nigga The motherfucker who started this movement got called a nigga way more times than you, and he did not fight every time. And he did more for this culture, died for this culture, and he didn't fight every time. This thing got hit in the face with rocks and didn't fight back. So if he can swallow his pride in those moments, in the real thick of it,
we talking about Martin Luther King?
yes, and as today, we can be man enough to not do that because we experienced none of that shit. He was out there in the trenches and got called a nigga all the time.
Well, I believe in every conviction of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., like every conviction. I do. But you run out of chiefs. And Brother Martin died because of his beliefs and people not
Both of them died.
I refuse to die not standing on my convictions. Of
Both
course.
of them died.
Of course.
Malcolm X theory was the other side.
An extremist and someone also speaking peace. But we're not going to sit here and keep trying to whitewash Martin like Martin was just this poster boy for all black righteousness on a certain scale.
He did what he did.
Yeah, of course.
He was still human. He wasn't God.
Of course, and that's my thing. I'm still human, so you can't fault me for feeling like, because I know I've dealt with self-hatred long enough. I've been around white people who didn't appreciate me as a black man. So there's no way in my adult life am I going to tolerate me being able mind, body, spirit to be around people who feel like still calling me that word in a disrespectful, malicious tone is going to cause me to just, you know what, turn my cheek. I can't do it.
I'm not saying turn your cheek, because if a white person called me a nigga in that same situation in the bar, I'm probably have something wild to say. But to say I'm going to physically like beat them up as a 36-year-old man.
So I want to make this clear. I'm not jumping to violence. Of course I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm good with my word.
But what I'm saying is,
but that's going to escalate to violence.
That situation, me knowing you, that situation is violent.
At
a bar over the music, you're not having a productive conversation over no fucking feature playing in the background.
That's right.
Nigga turn around and call you nigga clear enough, and you done had a couple drinks, or if you sober, just in that situation, I don't think you're trying to have a conversation.
Because I'm a black man and there's no familiarity with you versus me, and you feeling comfortable enough to call me a nigga, because I know it's not coming from a place of affinity. It's not compassionate. It's not love. It's not you embracing me as a brother. Like, you're not, nothing about what you're doing is underlying. It's very overt. You're calling me a nigga to disrespect me, to defame me, to make me look a certain kind of way.
Only if you identify as that.
But if I know,
that's like me calling a girl a hoe and she get mad because I call her a hoe. If you know you're not a hoe, why are you upset?
I'm not assuming your intention. If you turn around and call me nigger, you're not saying it polite. You're not having like bump you like nigger. You're not doing it. Your intent is to make me feel less of a man by a word that you feel like my ancestors.
I also think that people who are of our age and wasn't around during that shit, they don't know what racism is. They have just been raised in the culture to where, you know, black people are over there, we're over here, and you know how to make them mad, just say the word nigga, they'll be mad.
Okay, well, you can say that, but I come from a family of people who were raised in the North and the South. My grandfather, my great-grandfather were sharecroppers. Born and raised in
I went to high school in Alabama.
On a dirt road.
I went to high school in Alabama.
But you're saying we can't identify. I can identify because I know their stories. I know what that is to be discriminated against.
Alabama.
I get it. South Carolina.
Alabama.
South Carolina. Dirt road, South Carolina.
Don't play with me, bro.
I'm telling you.
With the racist, all the racist shit happened in Alabama. The bus, the roads and shit, all that shit.
I'm 35 years old.
That was the thick of it, bro.
What I'm saying is this shit is not foreign to me. I'm not identifying with the word because of what I heard in pop culture or movies that I saw and shit like that. I'm talking about the experiences of my family.
The name of my high school is Robert E. Lee. The statue in front of the school has his back.
Dog, I'm at the USC. The name of the biggest gym at USC is Strom Thurmond, my nigga. I'm identifying with racism from college, high school, college, my childhood to adulthood, my nigga.
Did you just compare him to Robert E. Lee?
It's a Confederate general. What are you talking about?
Did you just compare him to Robert E. Lee?
It's the same shit.
No, it's not.
It's the same shit.
I'm just saying that my grandma was in a Confederate group, so I kind of got y'all both be here. Like, I grew up.
I don't even know how niggas went on that tangent. All I'm saying is...
You're just talking about the word nigga. What I'm saying is, a nigga, they gonna call you a nigga and you gonna act like one.
That's what I got an issue with.
You gonna call me a nigga.
And you gonna act like one.
And as a man, I'm gonna address you with my stern voice, with me talking my shit.
That's it.
And then it's gonna escalate if you want it to escalate.
That's it. Yeah. What I'm saying is.
Oh no, I'm not putting the beats on a nigga. First, I'm gonna talk my shit, and you gonna feel away, and then we're gonna handle it accordingly.
I was out with my woman, at the time, and we was out with another couple.
White or black?
Biracial couple.
Okay.
And but her boyfriend was white.
That nigga paid.
Context.
Yeah, context, right? But no, it was a biracial couple, but the dude was white, and he had brought one of his friends with him. And I ain't like his vibe from the jump, right? And I made that known from the gate. Like, I don't like that. Why y'all even like
white dude?
Yeah, and my issue wasn't with him, right? Because you could be that way. I had more of an issue with them for bringing him around me, and then on top of that, if y'all brought him around me and you see the energy he putting off and you see I don't like it and I had to vocalize it, I feel like you ain't do enough. That's your man. Right. You supposed to check him before I do. Now, if you gotta check him and I gotta check him, then we might have to just handle that a different way. But I felt like it bothered me because I could have just laid him out right there in the bar. It was clear he was the type of dude that just wanted to talk and didn't want any type of action behind it. Now, I could have handled that a different way. Could have laid him out. Probably got in trouble. Probably got thrown out the bar. Might have got arrested that night, right? I didn't have to do that. Instead, I talked to my woman. You know, we don't like this energy, so we went to a different part of the bar, away from him. We removed ourselves from the situation, right? I don't think that was a sign of weakness. I think that was a sign of strength on both our parts. Right. Because we could have did something. We could have did something different that might have totally changed. Like, we out for a good night. I'm not gonna let you ruin my night because, like I said, you ignorant. You're a bad person, and you have so much. Listen, only reason people out here spewing hate is because they hate themselves. So I already know this brother. This brother is hurting. He hurting. And I say brother, I don't mean brother in the sense, but he's another man. He's another human. But he's already hurting. So for me to violate him, it's just gonna put him in another place, and probably now he got a reason to hate.
Let me ask you a question, and I don't know. This may relate or not relate. Was the girl that you was dating at the time, she white or black?
She was biracial too.
Okay. So you think that man may have felt more or less inclined to talk or be disrespectful or be as arrogant as he was in both of y'all presences if you were both just African American, not biracial, not mixed. If you weren't of a lighter tone, if she wasn't of a lighter tone. Because black is black. I identify you as black. You're not biracial to me. I see you like I see every other homie I'm around. Like, that's just my viewpoint on it. But I know that white people, certain white people, people who are, very ignorant, view us differently. They all, they look at us based on our strength, based on the darker our skin tone. Like, a white man to see a...
So you think he was trying to test me because I was light skinned?
I'm asking you, do you feel that way?
I don't know if that was the case.
That never crept into your mind? You never thought about that?
I do think about that all the time. But I mean, that's on the spectrum what we was talking about earlier. When you, depending on who you like, or whether it's light skin or dark skin, or where you fall out on the women that you date. But I don't think it was that. I think it was just he just had a problem with me because of how I looked. Right. And the whole thing about it, we could have handled the situation a completely different way. At the end of the night, I ended up having to. We didn't get into a fight, like I said. I knew he wasn't going to do anything. I knew he didn't want any of that. He didn't want no smoke at all. He just all talk.
See, to that whole situation.
Could have messed my whole. I'm gonna let you get in real quick, but it could have messed our whole night up. But you know what? Listen, homie. Listen, you could be over there with your negative energy. We're gonna go over here and flex and make you even more mad.
Right.
And if you come at me on some other stuff now, well, now I have to address it differently. But I can remove myself from the situation if he happened to follow me over here and keep on, harassing me. Then that's different. That's different. But like I said, my thing is that let's not stoop down to that level of self-hate and indulge.
Oh no, bro, I completely agree with everything that you're saying. All I'm saying is, in a moment where it's
different.
That you're saying that versus me reacting. My reaction is gonna be like, I always feel like I know I'm a hothead. I know I can blow up at any moment. People misconstrue the fact that you can speak a certain kind of way and you can, verbalize exactly how you feel. They take that for a sign of weakness. Like, oh, this nigga just a nerd.
You kind of sweet.
I can talk to him any kind of way. He's gonna try to talk me off a ledge with his words and shit. Nah, it don't always be like that, yo. Yeah. The shit can go left. So I'm gonna say you gonna get me to a point where I'm trying to convey to you that, yo, my nigga, you barking up the wrong tree. It's gonna go left, and I'm gonna talk my shit. And it might be malicious as hell. Like, it might get to that point. Now, You're allowed to keep it at words. I'm allowed to keep it at
Yeah,
words.
I agree
But it's
with that.
only a certain level or point I'm gonna let you cross
Yep.
to where it becomes something different.
Yep.
I know I'm not gonna I can't run out and jump on every motherfucker who say some shit
To me,
that I don't like.
it's not different until he touch me.
I
If you
agree
don't,
with
if you
that.
don't touch
That's
me,
why-
it's not
that's where we gotta
different.
draw the line.
You can say whatever you want to say, and I'm nice with words. I hurt your feelings. Like, nigga, shut up, or I take your bitch. Like, that's the type of shit I'll say to a nigga. Like, you know, I hurt your feelings that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as you don't touch me, I'm probably not gonna touch you. You can say whatever you want to say because, like, it's
It's words.
it's just words. Like,
My breaking point is different, and I respect. I
Yeah,
completely,
I
I completely
understand what
respect
you're
everything.
saying.
prime example. That day we was at the gym. You always tell me about that story. The day we was at the gym and I lost my head. I was spazzing, and then in an instant I turned it off. Like, y'all niggas have a good night. See y'all niggas next week.
But you see me in the same. You see me in the same.
You ain't turn it
motherfucker?
off. You ain't turn it off.
What happened though? But what happened though? But what happened though?
You-
Tell the whole shit.
Which one you talking about? Which
He
one you
said-
talking about?
Which one you talking
Which
about?
one?
All right, so Rozay he like to add fluff. There are certain situations where shit talking in the gym and shit talking in the gym, and everybody knows who knows me, who knows I play ball, knows that I'm a certain type of nigga when it's hooping.
Yeah.
And you gonna talk crazy, I'm gonna talk crazy. At the end of the day, I always say, I'm a man, you a man.
That's on the court.
As long as we keeping it basketball, it ain't no love lost.
But
one night,
one thing before you go on, basketball does tell character. It does tell character.
it doesn't reveal all that.
It doesn't reveal all, but you can learn a lot from playing basketball. With
So
people.
let's tell the whole truth because I feel like the whole story ain't
We
being
ain't even
told.
told the story.
Yeah,
Let's
let's talk about it. So one night, I happened to be in the gym, and
I don't even know which one you're talking about yet.
No, you know what I'm talking about. Like right after certain things happen.
Okay.
So certain things happened. I was in a bad spot, and now I was dealing with my own. I was dealing with my own personal shit. You know what I'm saying? Going through it, just going through the motions.
Right.
And usually, I try to run to basketball to like, that's my saving grace. Like that's my safe haven. Like usually when I'm going through my storms, I run to a court. I want to go shoot. I want to go play ball.
Right.
That night I'm playing ball, and I'm pretty much to myself. I'm not speaking much. I'm not even talking much with my teammates. But then somebody says something that's like to me a little bit out of pocket, and it's on some lines of "I lock you up" type shit or some shit like that. So now I'm barking, but I'm not barking in the sense of it being basketball because I'm all out of my character.
Right.
Because now I'm not thinking about just basketball. I'm thinking about everything else that I'm
bringing
dealing
your
with.
life into
I'm
it.
bringing all this shit to the forefront.
Right.
So now I'm spazzing, and that turns into me and this man having words, going back and forth. And now, so even after the point of it being like, yo, this shit getting kind of heated, like maybe niggas need to chill out. Everybody's calming shit down. The person who I had the issue with starts talking less. I'm talking more now because I'm still worked up about everything that's going on. It's a culmination of now we're in the basketball court. I'm competitive, but my nigga, you have no idea what the fuck I'm dealing with at the crib. Like you have no idea, and I can't lose my shit there, so I'm losing my shit here, and I'm ready to take it to that level because I'm triggered. Now I'm upset. I'm more evoked and more involved.
I think I might
And it
be
gets to
there
a
that
point
day
where
in the gym.
no, it's a different
this is
gym.
a different
It's
gym.
a different gym. So
You
was a
spent
team.
one day at the
yeah.
gym too.
That's why I said which one.
But listen, this is all around the same shit. I'm just adding context to it.
Right.
I'm not justifying or validating anything.
Right.
I'm just adding context to
It's
why
different,
I
though.
was in the space I was in. So it's like I can't go through what I'm going through at the crib a certain kind of way. So it's out here. It's like as a man, I can get this shit out. And if y'all niggas feel like taking it there, we can take it there. That's what I'm on right now. So it gets to a point where the gym guy comes in and he's like, we're going to have to ask you not to come back. You can't come back, blah, 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 blah. I'm walking outside, still spazzing. I'm telling this man, like, you pull up, like, we can leave the gym, we can go down the street, whatever the case may be. And Rozay even said, like, yo, my nigga, you're bugging. Like, you ain't even just tripping a little bit right now. You bugging. I'm like, all right, fuck out of here. Like, you and I'm spazzing around a little. Like, fuck out of here. Like, you ain't gonna let nobody talk. You da-da-da-da. And I know in my mind, like, in the back of my rational mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, it just be basketball. Don't never be nothing more than basketball.
Right.
I know for a fact how you're reacting right now is you being out of character because of mad other shit. One situation in particular has got you all out of your character. You're doing the most. So the very next morning, after thinking about that whole shit, after having a moment to myself, after separating whatever it is that we were doing that night from all the other shit I had going on, I hit this man like, yo, bro, what's buddy number? I was wild. I was out of pocket. Like, the shit should have never got to that extreme. We competitive every time I see this dude, but it don't never be like that. That's me tripping. I know I'm tripping. Can you send me his number? Rozay's like, yo, respect. Sends me the number. I send buddy a text. After I call him, he don't answer. I'm like, yo, it's time from the gym. my fault, son. Like, whatever was going on, as a man, I can say, had nothing to do with you. We play ball here every Tuesday. It's the same shit. Nothing don't change. My energy was off. My whole shit was different. And this has nothing to do, because we do this every week. You gonna push off, I'm gonna push off. I'm gonna foul you, gonna foul me. This don't fucking change. None of this changes. This is regular shit. I know I'm out of pocket. And I apologize. That's the part of the story niggas don't tell you. I don't always double back.
I didn't tell none of the story.
I don't always double back, but I double back when I know I'm in the wrong. And that's about manhood, respect shit. Like, I know that man didn't mean me no ill will. The talking shit was talking shit. And it only got to a point where it was more egregious than it had to be because of me, not because of him.
Right.
And I took full accountability for that.
So
that's what I'm saying about.
Even though eventually you got to where you needed to be as
The
far
next
as
day.
the next day, right? But also, that's a moment of growth to realize that you could have had that conversation in your mind in that moment and never got there.
Not with everything that's going on. It's
You
easy.
can.
It's easy to
You
tell.
can.
It's easy to
It's
say what you
different,
can and
yeah.
cannot control in the moments that you are going through it. Like everybody way of coping ain't gonna be the same. I don't expect nobody. I isolate myself. When I'm really going
what I
through
said
it,
is growth. If you're not there yet, you can always get there.
the lack of growth would have been me not saying nothing to you, or not reaching out, or not trying to have a real
No,
conversation.
that's not what I'm saying, bro. You miss what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yeah, you got to the point of hitting me the next morning and saying, yo, I need to make this right. That's respectable and commendable. What I'm saying is, in that moment, you can learn a lesson that the conversation that you had with yourself that took all night for you to do it the next morning, you could have had that on the court, knowing the separation of the two. You said yourself that you knew in the back of the mind and you was tripping and you knew what you was tripping for. So if you had that conversation right there in that moment, you could have been like, yo, I'm bugging, yo.
No, I completely agree with you. But it's like when there's so much, when there's so many other factors that are being, compounding in the moment, you're not sitting around thinking about. I wasn't sitting around trying to dissect. But why am I being so?
But that's the same thing that happened with me.
Why
that day.
am I? Yeah.
When I was on 12. I was past 10. I was on 12. I immediately, in the moment.
Our situations are completely different.
It was, but you don't know what I was going through.
I don't know.
That's
And
what,
he
that's what I'm
didn't
saying.
know what I was going through.
But that's what I'm saying. You say it's different, but you don't know what I was going through. I could have been going through shit. My mom in the fucking hospital. Like, I can run down a list of things that was going on at that time. So I could have easily, took it to where you went. But I understood in that moment. Self-control. You're like, yo, this is just basketball.
There was self-control there though. Like the only
It
part,
was?
the self-control there because my normal way of reacting once it gets past a certain point of talking, then we all fighting. It wasn't that.
But we weren't gonna let y'all fight.
But I mean, it wasn't gonna go there because I wasn't gonna let it go there. I knew I was heated, and me talking more shit is me trying to evoke a reaction out of another person, so I don't look like the onus is on me. I know that I'm the antagonist, but if I don't run down on you as a man and start throwing my hands and shit, then I'm still not wrong. Because I said everything I wanted to say in that moment, and you reacted however you wanted to react. That's me getting put out of the gym. It's the same. That goes back to the point of me being in the bar with some white guy calling me nigga. Because I know my self-worth. You can talk all the shit you want to talk in the world. It's like right back to what you said. I'm going to talk my shit. I'm going to stand firm in my conviction about how I feel about you being disrespectful. And until you get to a point where you want to aggress me on some physical shit, then it is what it is. I'm never going to be the first nigga to just run down on you for the sake of running down on you. But there is a fucking limit. There's a limit. It's always going to be a limit with me. I don't let nobody, I don't believe in disrespect. I don't go out my way to disrespect nobody. Like, I say how I feel. My opinion is my opinion. Yours is yours. But I know my self-worth. After years of not knowing my shit.
I just be thinking about court in them situations. Like, I'll just be thinking about
Court.
court. Like,
No, I respect
you can say whatever. As long as you don't touch me. Once you touch me, I was scared for my life. I had to hit him with a chair.
I'm scared. That's what's funny is I tell niggas that all the time, dog. Like before I
I
get to a
had
point
to
of
crack
violence,
him
I'm
with a
scared.
bottle. I was scared for my life.
If, like you got we were in somewhere where you feel like you need to see me, and you holler at me or some shit like that. We had like bad blood and all that. As long as you don't touch me, I'm cool. Cause I'm a fucking fool when it goes to a different level. Cause I'm scary. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I don't know what you got on you, my nigga.
Mr. Montgomery, you choked him today.
I was scared for my life.
That's all I'm gonna say on the stand over and over again.
Nigga like he had a weapon, yo.
All of this stuff that's going on in the news, I didn't know if he had a gun.
Damn, we went on some tangents out this bitch.
It's all good shit. But let's off of that. Like a piece of that is like I was listening to Charlamagne talk the other day, and he was talking about toxic masculinity, and he was saying that a lot of the ways that we was taught to grow up as men was toxic for us. It didn't help or push us forward. As like I heard the guy, the husband on Us, he did an interview on the Breakfast Club the other day, and he was talking about how people were saying that he was giving black men a bad name off of his role in the movie because of his lack of masculinity.
Right.
So, but what he was saying was that there's this narrative that you put on men, like all men should be able to fight. No, all men are not going to be able to fight because all of us ain't in a boxing ring practicing on how to fight.
Right.
So we can say we tough and you can win. You can get the toughest nigga that beat up mad niggas in the club, right? Put that nigga in the ring with a welterweight, and they will whoop his motherfucking ass, pick his ass apart. You know what I'm saying? So it's just these narratives that are kind of lead to these situations to where it's like how people preach black on black crime, right? And that's a thing, but it's black on black crime is not a thing. It's people kill whoever's around them. Violence is going throughout. So white people kill white people.
It's like
Puerto Ricans
black
kill
people.
Puerto
Black
Ricans.
people in
You're gonna kill who's in your vicinity.
Black people in in projects
thing.
aren't looking to go kill black people in the suburbs.
Yeah, you're not driving from Chicago to
you're not beefing with
Minnesota to go.
And that's back to your point about black men being conditioned a certain way, to think a certain kind of way, to feel a certain kind of way, and have all this machismo based on how it is that we're expected to live. A lot of our self-hate and us being always combative with other men, being in conversation with other men, is because nobody cares about men's mental health. Like, nobody cares about the things that ail us. It's always about how we can extend ourselves to women to make them feel more adequate, to make them feel more secure, to make them feel more involved, more inclusive, to build with them, to nurture their well-being so that they can go out and be the best women that they can. But it's not oftentimes addressed. What's this man thinking? What issues or what elements is he dealing with mentally that's causing him to react or conduct himself a certain kind of way?
I got a podcast dropping on this too, and it falls directly.
What's the name of the podcast? To the people.
Did you catch that? It's dropping soon. And we did an episode. I was talking to one of my boys. We were talking about masculinity, and pretty much it kind of falls in line with self-hate too. Because like I said, that self-hate turns into depression, and then you have to answer questions like, why are men more likely to be expelled from school, especially as young boys? Why are they at a higher rate to commit suicide? Why do they commit more mass murders? Why are they more likely to be locked up than women? You have to answer those questions for me, and then that tells me we got to look at how these kids are growing up, right? So if my perception of a man is to be this way, but my social environment doesn't allow me to be that way, or I don't want to be that way, that doesn't make me less of a man. That just means I'm not that type of man, and we want to box men into one specific category. So when you look at that and you say that men gotta grow up and be tough. Now I think we can all agree that we play sports. You gotta be tough in sports, right? But statistically speaking, studies show that if you are more likely to be to provide constructive criticism and do it in a certain way that's not demeaning or making you feel like that you're not being attacked personally, your performance is a lot better. And I take that Tom Izzo did the other day, right? That's how my coach was, right? Snatch you up in a heartbeat, right? But off the court, he was the kindest dude in the world. Like paid for my mom to come up on senior night, flew her up, paid for dental bills. He all love, right? But so like, I understand that in the sports aspect. I think we do too. Right. But when we look at our young boys and we saying that you can't express yourself in a certain way, you got to hold that in.
Right.
Now, if I try to express that you're calling me a pussy. You're calling me soft. You're calling me a bitch. You're calling me a queer. You're doing all that stuff to me. Now I got to hold that in. I can't talk about it. So that's self-hate. That's just building, right? And over time, that turns into depression, which is why young boys tend to act out in school. And I used to be a substitute teacher, and I had kids in my class that would act out all the time, and I didn't know what I know now. Right. So I would send them out of the classroom instead of sitting down and having a conversation with this young man, this young woman, and most of these young men, especially boys of color. But again, not always, because I was in a town that was pretty mixed, so the white kids was doing it too. Right. So that told me that it wasn't a racial thing; it's how we are raising our young men, right? And if we raising them to have that self-hate, that's going to manifest itself in violent actions, getting expelled in school, bringing a gun to school, more likely to experiment with drugs, alcoholic tendencies at a younger age, more likely to be arrested. You know, if you get arrested, that cycle is it's a reciprocal. That's just going to keep going.
In the system.
So, like, we spewing all that self-hate and predominantly across the board with our young men, and we need to do a better job of not doing that and holding them to stereotypes. Because most people don't know masculinity and standards of masculinity changed over time, right? There was a time in the Victorian era where men wore just feminine clothes, and they viewed other men with more respect based off your family values and how you treated other people, right? That's not the case today. Today, well, especially like let's look at the 70s. You had to be like strong, independent. When you think of masculinity, you think of probably someone who's a college athlete, someone who's smart, who's a go-getter type of mindset. So, looking at how we raise our young men, we gotta do a better job of that. Cause then they grow up to be good men, and then they raise young men to be good men. You feel me?
It's like it all starts with conditioning our boys to believe that they don't have to be emotionally detached. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, over the last year dealing with therapy and things of that nature, I've understood that being passionate it's not a hindrance. You can be passionate, but the way that you convey your passion, the way that you speak to the things that are harmful to you but also matter, like the way that you put those things in terms for other people to understand, don't always have to be so aggressive. It doesn't have to be from a standpoint of I demand my respect, I need my words to be heard. I can sit and have a conversation with you as passionately as I did about the occurrences of things that have happened over time in a very monotone voice, and as long as I know I'm speaking from inward with it just being me speaking with convictions without me having to feel like I have to sway you to understand what I'm saying because I'm a man, I need to be heard and understood, then it's always gonna resonate. And that's easy. Our young boys don't get that opportunity. And I would hate to have another young man, especially a son, a nephew of mine. I talk to my nephew all the time, and I always try to convey to him, be who you are. If you are the most awkward, uncomfortable kid in the world, be who you are, but love yourself for being that person. Don't allow people to box you in and make you feel inferior because you are emotional, because you speak from a certain place, or you allow yourself to express all that without fear of judgment. Because it's only gonna stifle you as a man. And don't be who I am or who I was becoming without finding all this shit out. Be your own man. Come into your own, knowing these things are there for you.
I think about that a lot without me just not having no kids right now. I think about sometimes like, with me doing the DJing and making music and doing the podcast and trying to just progress in life. I think a lot of the times, maybe the experiences that I'm getting is not for me. Maybe it's for my child. Maybe it's for me to learn all these things so then when I get the child, that I know all of this to make sure that my child is great. I know all of this so my child doesn't start off in debt. I know all of this so that my child can prepare themselves for not just public school education, which really don't get you nowhere, for the things that you need to know to get you in a better place. Maybe I'm learning all of these lessons for them. Maybe it ain't for me to be the biggest podcaster or me to be the biggest person making music or the biggest DJ. Maybe all of this is just stuff that I'm getting for my child. I want to be that because I just see in my childhood, like a lot of things, instead of having conversations about it, my parents were just like, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And we, a lot of times we love our parents, but we also have to acknowledge that our parents could also be
they're not the best parents.
A product of
their environment.
Right, a product of their environment.
Babies raising babies.
Right, they went through things in their life that was fucked up that they never talked to nobody about. They passed those things over to you. So we have to acknowledge that. A lot of people take whatever their parents have to say. I argue with my parents all the time because it's things that we talk about today that back then they've changed because they see things are changing. Their eyes have been open to things, and so I just want to be that person who prepares the child for the real world and not for the illusion. Education is important. Yes, education is important, but what education is important? Their education, this education, that education, whatever. What is really important to progress in the world? You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's where it starts, man, of correcting self-hate. It's like, it's been instilled us for a long time. And I don't know specifically when it was created, but I know a major part of it was when we were enslaved. They separated us. The fair-skinned people would be in the house. Dark-skinned people would be outside. That created envy between the two. So it's like, that happened because, the white man sleeping with the black woman created a light-skinned child. That light-skinned child was raised on the same plantation. And then they're treated at a better rate than the people who are in the fields, which caused the people in the fields to not like the people in the houses. So that that started from the beginning, and it's just been a thing that now has just progressed. Social media has changed a lot, but I just think that social media is just now letting you know what everyone thinks. Everybody already thought like this. Everybody's mind was already fucked up. People wanted attention. There was people who did crazy shit for attention, but back then there was no camera.
We went to people's houses. We've always gone to people's houses and looked through their yearbooks.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Photo album.
Right.
These are good pictures. I like.
It just poured gasoline
Yeah.
on what everything because now you get to see what everybody's thinking, like even unwarranted. Like you just get to see what this person is thinking at this particular time. So with you seeing that, and you see a lot of the same thing, and people don't realize like the algorithms set you up to see the same thing. So if you continue to like the same type of stuff, that stuff is going to keep being fed to you, which if you have insecurities about what you're seeing or self-hate about what you're seeing, it's just fueling that because the algorithms keep sending you what you're liking and what you know what I'm saying? So even with social media, of course, that's you know, it's really deep, man. We could go like on and on and on and on.
I just want to ask one thing before like people wrap it up, before we wrap it up. What's one thing each of us can provide this as an answer? What's one thing that you would suggest to people or give as a recommendation to combat self-hatred?
I got you, because I was just about to say that too. Two things. One is find out about your history, right? Because an antidote to self-hate is pride. And if you know about your past, and you know about where your people come from, and you know how strong they are, you know what they accomplished, you know what they did, then that is going to allow you to have pride in yourself, right? That's when you talked about slaves, the reason that slaves were separated when they first were brought to America as prisoners of war, they were rebelling, they were fighting back, they were killing slave owners and all that. So South Carolina, some slave owners, they flew to Germany. They didn't fly. They took the boat to Germany, and they met up with this white dude who was so the slave masters, they took the boat over to Germany and met up with this white dude who was familiar with the specific area of Africa that they were taking the prisoners from. And he told them, he said, these are prideful people. These people have done amazing things. They do all this. He said, so what do you do with the slaves when you get them over there? Or the prisoners of war when you get them over there? He said, we put them on a plantation and we told them to do their work. He said, no, what you do is you separate them. So this is where the idea to separate the slaves come from. He said, you take the parents and you send them off somewhere to work until they die. You send the kids over to another plantation. You don't let them speak. You don't teach them the language. You don't teach them anything, right? And if they don't know about their history, then they didn't have that sense of pride. Because the parents were telling the kids, if your mom is telling you every day you're descendants of kings, you're not going to be out here in this man's field picking this cotton. Right. So that's important that you understand your history and have pride in that. So do that. And the second thing I would say is that just because you've done something your entire life, you grew up that way, and you think that's a fabric of who you are as a person, does not make it right, does not make it just, and does not mean that you should continue to do it in the future. So you need to understand that about yourself, and you can change, and you can grow, and you can develop, and that's okay. And y'all got to be okay with that, and get past that.
That's dope. For me, I think combating self-hatred starts with being able to forgive. Like, you got to be able to forgive yourself for your own self-doubts. Yep. You got to be able to forgive yourself for pushing people away, for ruining relationships. I know for me, my own self-hatred, whatever form it showed itself in, has ruined like friendships, has ruined dating relationships, may have even caused some conflict between me and family members. But I know it's all internal, it's all within my control. You have to be able to forgive yourself for making those types of mistakes, and then push forward past that. Accept what is. Even after you've apologized to all the people that you've wronged and that you've hurt, from a very genuine, solemn place. I mean, it's not on you for how things are going to be laid out for you in those individuals after the fact. You can't control that. That's part of self-hatred, looking to control, looking to be in control of things that have no bearings on whether you can or cannot do that. Like, I always thought that my self-hatred stemmed from a place of me not wanting to lose control, but I always wanted to be perfect, and then always finding spite within self when I couldn't be this type of boyfriend or this type of son or this type of student. Like, these things are only within my own control. I can only control the factors that I can control. And when you can't do those things and you've accepted that, then you have to push forward past that. And that starts with forgiveness. You got to be able to forgive yourself for all of that. It's a heavy burden to bear. Sitting around, thinking that you're less than a person than you actually are, or you're inferior to these people versus these people based on what you think people are used to or what their lives are like versus yours. So for me, that's where it starts.
With me, I would say it starts with honesty, being honest with yourself. A lot of people are in like denial about themselves. A lot of times, I tell girls all the time, I say, if you're insecure, if you claim that you're not insecure, why are you doing everything that an insecure person would do? You're either an insecure person or an actress. Which one are you?
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you claim that you're not insecure, then act like a person who's not insecure. If you're doing everything that an insecure person would, then you are insecure or an actress. You need to.
What they say, if it walk like a duck and quack like a duck, it's a duck.
Right. So I always say you got to be honest, not just women, men too. Like we have to be honest with ourselves. If we have a problem with something, you first must admit that that you have that problem. If you're doing things for validation, you must admit to yourself that, hey, I'm doing this for people approval that I don't even know and don't give a fuck about me. If I die, they might not even put up an RIP post. Like, you know what I'm saying? So doing things for a number on the screen or how many comments, you have to be honest with yourself that you're doing that. If you are hating on someone and you dislike someone of the same color as you, or even you dislike someone the same color as you, be honest with yourself of why you hate that person or why you don't like that person. Once we start doing that and start being honest with each other and honest with ourselves, I think a lot of shit would change. A lot of people are not ready for honesty. A lot of people ask for it, but they don't really want. You can't really be honest with everybody, so it's difficult. But it's super easy to be honest with yourself if you're willing to improve. If you're not willing to improve, then you'll never be honest and you'll just blame. You just blame. And you have to start with trying to love yourself. And I know that's hard in today's time because, especially with women, because they're compared to so. I really think they play a part in comparing themselves. It's not a lot. It is forcing them to a degree, far as like social media, TV, whatever. But you also have to acknowledge that is what's better in order for you to think that you're not good enough. So when I see a Love and Hip Hop woman on there on TV, and they all got on the lace fronts and heavy makeup. If you see that,
them shits be trash.
That shit be something. Bro, lace fronts have got to. We gotta. Something has to stop.
I was just watching the Love and Hip. Not a sidebar. I was watching the Love and Hip Hop shit the other night, and like I had a big screen TV, so it like showed a close up on all of the open the closures.
Oh my! With the fake baby hairs coming with the.
Man, let's not
get
on baby.
Let's not talk about baby.
That's gotta go.
We're not gonna talk about baby.
We're
not gonna talk about baby.
Yeah, baby, that conversation over.
Let's keep rolling.
But yeah, so man, I think that's just what it is, man. Honesty, and educate yourself. A lot of people don't educate themselves. A lot of people, like just take for instance the Jussie Smollett situation, right? The headline that went around the world was all charges dropped, but no, the charges were dropped.
It's a plea deal.
It's not even a plea deal. It's the fact that the consequences. They charge them with mad shit, but that's just to say we ain't playing no games. Celebrities can't come here and lie and waste police hours and do this stuff. We ain't playing no games. We charge me 47 charges. They knew 2 of those charges would probably stick.
Right.
The 47 is for the number and the people to be like, oh shit, he's facing the same amount of time as Tekashi. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's just headlines.
Or theatrics.
They could have got him with 2 of those charges, and the penalty for 2 of those charges was community service. He had already served community service time, so it makes no sense to take him to trial, spend all of this money just to give him the punishment of what he already did. So they dropped the charges. A lot of people are saying, oh, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He was telling the truth the whole time.
That's not an admission of guilt.
And I said that to say that people don't research and just read headlines.
Yep.
So you have to also educate yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to just stop reading headlines because that shit is not always true. You have to do investigation, you have to research, and you also have to be honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
And once you start doing that, I think the ball would roll.
It's a good talk, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you letting us come
through it. Shit like therapy all over again.
There you go. Hey, that's all it is, right?
Except my dude,
that's what talking is.
My dude Indian, so it's different.
Psych grad, so.
You kind of look like him a little bit, like without the with the facial hair. You know what I'm saying? Take the facial hair.
There you go, man. I look like
I
everybody.
feel like we need to do a part 2 too, because just then, it's like 3 things ran off in my head. That
I was going through my notes, like thinking about the shit that I wanted to like kind of approach. But I mean, I'm kind of very content.
We can do a part 2. We gotta do a part 2 because you gotta go watch that shit. Because we could probably
we
could probably do a whole hour.
Niggas can't even get into the shits with you not.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Like I said, I was supposed to watch it. Just
I know you got a bootleg, man. You ain't got no fire stick with the.
I got a plug.
Okay.
Can I say that? I ain't gonna say it.
Right. But yeah, man.
So, no comment.
Hopefully the fans ain't watching.
Right. Hopefully.
You're watching everything.
Bro, listen.
It's trigger words.
Hey, like the video, repost the video, share the video.
That's a fact.
All that, man.
Hold on, let me talk to y'all for a second.
Talk to him, man. This is about what the conversation coming
hold on, man. Now,
talk your shit.
It's a lot of y'all be telling me you love the podcast, and I love y'all to death. I love y'all to death.
Love it.
It's a lot of y'all that repost, and I don't even get to everybody to repost because I'm not following y'all back. Forgive me, so I don't get to share to my story that you're reposting me. I love that. I love that you guys support me. But y'all who call me your friend,
talk to him.
Y'all who call me your friend,
talk to him,
and see me in public and say, I love the podcast, but you won't hit that share button. I got beef with you, man. That's part of that self-hate. That's part of what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
I love y'all, man.
They projected their self-hate
If
upon
you love me, y'all better start sharing this podcast. I'm not going to tell you that. I want you to do it out of the kindness of your heart. I want to guilt you into it. But if I repost stuff, and people ask me all the time, how much you going to charge me to repost my business? Nothing.
It's for the love.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
If anybody who's doing something to try to get to a next level, I'm with it. I will repost whatever it is. You got hair business, because people ask me all the time, yo, how much you charge for a repost? Like, niggas is charging off for reposts? It's like, I might be missing a buck.
Right,
I might be start charging y'all.
Yeah.
So I just, you know what I'm saying? If you love
it.
I just put the post up. I didn't know I could charge.
Right. I was like, damn, somebody that hit me to the game.
Right.
But, nah, man, if support me, man. That's all I can say is that. You know what I'm saying? I could go in, but I ain't going to go in, because if it's meant for us to get to where we're trying to get, we're going to get there regardless.
Even if you hate the podcast, share it, like it, retweet it, because the person that might see it might love
Even if you hate the niggas on the podcast.
Exactly.
If they would be, just say it. Just love is love,
It's
man.
love is love is love. It's all love.
Having us on, man.
Yeah, man. So we definitely gonna have a part 2, because you gotta watch that, because I feel like we're gonna do at least an hour on just the movie alone. There's so many things I wanted to get to on that. I should have texted y'all and told y'all to both watch it, but and then there's a lot of some other things that I wanted to touch on too. So we'll definitely do a part 2. But that's it, man. Deeply Opinionated Podcast. Share, like, subscribe, do all that.
Oh, my nigga, heard my bones crack. My knee did some weird shit just now.